Hey, if this is your first time dropping by the channel, super appreciated. If you're a repeat viewer, super appreciate that too. It's great to have anyone checking out the content, especially when it's one of my all-time favorite sneakers. Now, really, I mean, I've had this channel for a very long time, for about a year and a half, and I drop content every single day. So we're well over 600 consecutive days, sometimes 2 videos a day. So we're looking at well over 600 sneakers. And in that time, my opinions have shifted. Always the 4s, the Jordan 4s have been right at the top of my list. I think that's a really iconic shoe, an iconic silhouette, and it stands alone, if you know what I mean. I like shoes that stand alone and have that kind of iconic look, a bit like the LeBron 17s. I think they'll go down in history as one of the most iconic sneakers of all time. But the Jordan 4s have always been top of my list. That's why the Bread 4s were my first ever Jordan sneaker. And then second used to be the 12s, and we're looking at a 12 today, but alas, sorry to all you 12 heads out there, but the 3s have actually taken over. And now the 3s are in second place on my favourite silhouettes, followed by the 12s. So they've gone down in my sort of ranking a little bit, but that's not to do with the shoe itself, losing any of its sheen or any of its coolness or any of its iconicness. It's more to do with the 3s going up than the 12s coming down. And I'm always happy to look at 12s when they come around. We did look at the University Gold recently, and they asked the question, and I asked the question in that video, just how gold is this University Gold? Because that's a yellow and black sneaker. That's not gold. And then here we are today with another 12, not too long after that one, which is the Nike Air Jordan 12 Indigo, and we'll be looking into that. And again, Indigo, I'm not, it's blue. It's not really indigo, but it's not my shoe. I don't own a massive multi-billion-dollar company that can choose what I call my shoes. So I'll have to leave it up to Nike to do that, and Nike say Indigo on this one, or the Jordan line, say Indigo on this one, so we'll have to go with that. And what we'll do today is we'll look at that, we'll look at the details on the shoe, but we're also going to look really close up at the leather on there, because the leather is very interesting to me. Don't know about you guys out there, but to me it's very interesting. It's got a very unique finish to it, which I haven't really seen in shoes very recently. So it'll be great to do that, and also, like I say, look at all the other features on that shoe. So without further ado, let's get into this and take a close-up look at the Nike Air Jordan 12 Indigo. This is the Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel. Tokyo Butter 23 Sneaker Channel des. Mainichi upside no de. Mainichi mite kudasai. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And did you hear what I just said? I said every single day from Tokyo, Japan. And let's stress that point today, because this 12 right here, well, not this 12, all 12s. That pattern on the side is actually representative of Japan. It's supposed to represent the rays of the morning sun, the land of the rising sun, and those sort of panels that run up the side of the 12 as standard, supposed to represent that land of the rising sun. I'm not entirely sure what the connection to Jordan would be. If these are 12s, 12s would have come out in 97, is that about right, for when 12s were kicking around for the first time? Maybe in 1997 there's something about the Japanese markets were opening up. Basketball was getting big here, and they saw a chance to sort of go after a segment of the industry by playing up a shoe and putting it in that sort of Japan feel. I don't know. There's always money reasons behind these things. Doesn't really matter, because what they churned out was an absolutely iconic silhouette, one of my favorite shoes to look at. And that's what we're going to do today. And always, usually, often, sometimes, maybe, whenever I put something in the title that's sort of a question or needs an answer in the video, I try to answer as soon as possible rather than teasing it all the way to the end, because that's what you're here to see about. And in the title of this video, I think I said let's take a real close-up, like a super close-up look at the leather on these guys. The first thing I want to do is I want to look at the Mudguards in white, because the Mudguards have that classic leather textured feel to them, and there's nothing unusual about them. You'd see that kind of textured look on any number of leather sneakers, not just Nike, not just Jordan, but leather sneakers. And the reason I want to do that is because it's such a contrast to the blue above, or indigo above. So let's pan out. There's one particular shot, I think I'm right in saying it's the toe box just below the laces, and you can see the leather on there. There's 2 things about the leather on this, and straight away, as soon as I saw this shoe for the very first time, I was like, there's something interesting going on there with the leather. It's a bit different, a bit unique. It's not quite the standard. And there's 2 things about it. Now, number one, I hope it shows up quite well on the green screen here, but there's a sort of, it's super weird to me, because it's almost like this has a matte and a gloss finish at the same time, which is impossible. it would be like saying it's a solid translucent outsole. You can't have a solid outsole and a translucent outsole. They're two opposites. They can't exist in the same world. They can't be solid and translucent at the same time. Something can't be matte and it can't be gloss at the same time. Matte is dull, gloss is shiny. You can't have shiny gloss. It doesn't make any sense. And but that's what it looks like. It's just, I don't know what it is. I was like, what is it about that shoe that it looks like a matte and a gloss finish? It gives it a real high quality premium feel, a real textured, real buttery sort of feel to that leather on there. And I think maybe it's because of the second point. If we zoom in close enough, what you should be able to see on the green screen is that the leather's almost got a kind of pitted effect to it. And I hope it shows up well on the green screen here, or I find a way to give you guys a good look at this pitted effect on the leather here. And again, we'll just quickly flip back to those Mudguards and look at that textured leather on there, and the way that even though it has got sort of ripples running through it, it's a still solid section of leather without any, you know, deviations in there. And then we go back to that toe box, and hopefully that pitted effect is jumping off the screen at you guys. And I think that's what gives it that matte and that gloss finish. The sort of little pitted holes in there make it look kind of matte, like it's sort of dulled down, but the leather itself is shiny and buff, which gives it that gloss feel. So maybe, just maybe, that's what it is. But for sure, that close-up look at the leather is something unique to me, something new that I haven't really looked at on shoes before. And like I say, I've looked at well over 600 shoes for the channel, so so hopefully I'm speaking from a place of experience. But alternatively, I might be wrong, and this might be a common thing that I haven't noticed before and I just haven't seen it. And if that's the case, let me know in the comments down below for sure. But that's the sort of title of this video. You know, the first part of it was all about taking a close-up look at that leather and kind of understanding why it's got that sort of textured, almost more substantial feel to it. And I think it's to do with that pitted effect that runs across the upper. But now it's time to get into all the other features on the shoe, and we'll stay with that upper because hopefully what I can show you not too far away from that pitted leather is the stitching that provides the kind of rays of light effect on the shoe. Now at first glance, honestly, you know, full disclosure and all that, I actually thought the stitching was white, but then I really looked at it and I realised it's just the way that the light is catching on the stitching to give it a sort of shiny feel to it, and it's actually blue stitching to match the upper, and that disappointed me. I was like, you know, if they put the white stitching on this, that would have been a really cool effect, running up, you know, those lines along the lateral and medial sides of the shoe. That would have been a great way to finish off the shoe with white stitching instead of blue. So, but alas, it wasn't to be. I mean, the blue stitching doesn't take anything away from what is a great looking shoe, but it would have been just a great sort of detail. But speaking of that blue stitching that super matches that blue upper, this shoe is a two-tone shoe, blue and white, but the blue on it is actually two tones itself, light blue and a darker blue, so it's kind of a three-tone shoe. And the best way to look at that kind of deviation in the colours is up on the tongue, especially on the branding at the top. I think I'm right in saying it's light blue, a light blue Jumpman up high, and then as you travel down, you also have that light blue branding in the tongue, which says TWO323. Hate it. Sorry, 12 heads out there, if you guys love your 12s and are watching this, and you're already mad at me for putting a 3 above a 2, a 12. But I just don't like that word 2 and number 3. You know, I have a little bit of OCD in there, and I like things lined up just right, and I like my simple shoes, but I've never ever liked that word 2 and that number 3 to represent 23 for Jordan on the tongues. And it's still, you know, even in these guys, it doesn't change, that feeling doesn't change. But what it is a good thing to do is it gives you that look at that kind of colour, that second blue on there that provides a bit of contrast to that deeper blue of the rest of the upper. And then we travel back up the laces and the tongue and on into the insole, and you'll see that Jumpman again on the inside, and then back around to the reverse on these guys. Now, the reverse, as far as I'm concerned, on 12s, the back end is classic, and I like it when they don't play with classic elements of shoes, and they haven't done here. But it's a great place again to see that contrast of 3 colours: the deep blue, the light blue, and also the white in there that provides that third sort of pivot around which the colours kind of spin. So standard, you know, 23 on the back, made to the specifications of the greatest athlete ever and all that kind of stuff on the back of the shoe. And then down below to that classic outsole. Now for me, you might be like, why didn't you see that earlier? but it was only when I looked at the outsole, which was the last thing I looked at, that I realized that the light blue has got a very UNC feel about it, University of North Carolina, which is where Jordan went to school. And that light blue, dark blue effect is a very classic UNC look that you see on Jordan 1s every so often. We've seen a few in the last couple of years in a matte finish for men's sizes, and there was a glossy patent leather finish for women's sizes. And it wasn't until, like I say, I looked at the outsole in these guys and realized that the light blue was in there, and it's maybe like a nod to UNC, and you can see it especially up the front again with the Jumpman up there in that light blue, providing contrast to the other two colors on the shoe. Back out looking at the whole shoe, and to finish this video off, just a great looking shoe. Like I say, I mean, third best still is pretty high up in somebody's rankings, and the 12 is a classic silhouette for me. I do like it very, very much. It's one of the most iconic shoes again, very much far removed from the shoes either side of it, which is one of the things I like about the Jordan line, is that, you know, if you look at 11s and you look at 13s and guessed what was in between the two, you'd never come up with 12s. You know, they're unique, and they totally go on their own in that sort of lineage, and that's kind of why I like the 4s, and I'm growing to like the 3s so much as well these days. Without further ado though, it's time for me to finish up. Thank you guys for checking out the content. It is, as I usually like to tell you the time, it's just about midnight on Friday night, and we're getting to the end of my summer holiday, and we're back to work full time on Monday. We've kind of, you know, what's the word for it? We've tethered our way into full-time work here in Japan, and it'll kick off for sure on Monday. So a couple more days left of summer for me, and then back to work. So getting these videos all tied up and tucked away as early as possible is a big thing, which I'm going to do right now. So just thank you guys for checking out the content, and remind you that I do this every single day, which means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.